Here we will see URL rewriting in ASP.NET. Websites often receive most of the traffic from search engines like Google. Because of that, it is very important to optimize web pages for search engines to rank higher in their search results. With better position, web page receives more traffic since visitors usually look only at first page and rarely list all results. There are hundreds of factors that affect ranking. One of the most important is to have keywords in your URL. Dynamically created sites usually don't contain keywords in URL, but they use query strings. This is okay if you look the programming logic. For example, pages that shows article is named as showarticle.aspx. But search engines are not user friendly and user can't say what is on that page except that it shows some article with primary key equal to the some number. So the basic idea is to show visitors and web spiders link from like category name / rich keyword / article name, while internally it will execute through query string. Another reason for translating URL is usability. URLs with query strings are not memorable and not user friendly. Generally, user prefers shorter URLs with meaningful keywords. One more reason for URL rewriting could be if you are changing the application's directory structure, but you don't want to lose incoming links like other sites. In this case, everything will stay same for outside world, but your application will work differently. Also, there is some security risk if you expose your query string variables to visitors. The concept of rewriting URL is very simple. When a client sends a request to the web server for a particular URL, the URL rewriting module analyzes the requested URL and changes it to a different URL on the same server. The URL rewriting module runs early in the request processing pipeline and modifying the requested URL before the web server decides which handler is to process the request. The handler which is chosen based on the rewritten URL processes the request and generates the response that is sent back to the web browser. The requesting client never sees the rewritten URL. As far as the client is concerned, it has received a response from the original URL. You can write the URL in web.config or global.asx file. First we will see writing URL in web.config. This type of URL rewriting could be used only for a small number of pages. You need to rewrite every page manually in web.config's URL mapping section. Here under configuration section, we will write URL mapping enabled equal to true and we will add URL equal to news.aspx and mapped URL will be default.aspx and ID will be 1. URL rewriting in global.aspx is also very simple, but in the same time pretty useful too. In application begin request event, inside procedure, use context.rewrite path method to specify which URL will execute in behind. The code for URL rewriting in global.aspx is as shown. Here first we will get the current path. Then we will check whether current path starts with our requirement, and if it is okay, we will get the current path substring, and then we will create object of HTTP context class, and with that we will rewrite the path.